Looks like he is now. There we go.
When you have God rights, it helps. You're good to go, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Today is July 5th. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. It is 9:03 about in the morning, and we are here today for the Economic Revitalization Committee meeting. We've got a couple items on the agenda today, namely four. The first one that we're going to talk about is a resolution authorizing the petition for exemption under the PA Liquor Control Board's liquor code for noise. Mr. Nar, that is yours. So go ahead and please take it away.
Okay. What we're doing is requesting the city back in 2015. And actually, I'll start this way. Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board basically issues, obviously, its license to licensees. And within these licensees, they're not allowed to emit any type of music amplified live outside their establishment, outside of the brick walls. So what the city did is obviously with the outdoor seating that has created and come above, we created what we call an entertainment district, which will allow that. So what it is we have to petition PLCB, and we have a set of hearings. So in 2015, we went to PLCB and said that we were going to, instead of you enforcing the noise and allow these amplified or live outdoor music venues that have like PLCB licenses to basically enforce the noise. So with that being said, we had to create zones. So you do have a copy of the map. What we did is so that we don't do it throughout the city, just primarily those businesses that have liquor license establishments. So I created these three zones. We went before PLCB as far as hearings that we've held. And what that is saying, listen, it gives the opportunity for the residents to come out and say, hey, we are going to enforce this part of this with this noise enforcement. So in 2015, again, we went through to PLCB. They granted us a waiver. It was 3 years. So at the end of the 3 years, we had to go back to them. So July in 2018, we went back to them and they reissued us one for 5 years. And obviously at this point in time, it will be up. So basically what this is it's just merely a kind of a formality that we're asking them or letting them know that we are going to continue to enforce this. They will hold 3 public hearings within the next month inside these 3 zoned areas to give the residents an ability to come and speak either for it or against that within their neighborhood, especially with those licenses that sometimes reside in residential zones. Once we have these 3 hearings, then at that point, the Liquor Control Board will go back, evaluate it, and they'll say whether they're going to continue this. If they continue this, at that point, then they would grant us either a 3-year or 5-year noise enforcement within these 3 zones. And again, we've been doing it since 2015. We haven't had any issues. Each year, each time we bring it before the PLCB board, we do have 3 hearings. So there will be 3 hearings set up inside these zoned areas to give the residents ability to come and either speak for it or against it. They'll give their testimony if they choose to. PLCB will go back, make the recommendation. And at that point, as long as they allow us to continue that, then we will continue to enforce the noise that immenses either from live entertainment or amplified music out around these liquor license establishments. So that's what I'm requesting. Obviously, the first step of it is we have to have a resolution from council approving this. If providing we get the resolution, then I'll set up with PLCB 3 hearings within these zones. We'll hold the hearings. Once the hearings are done, then they'll go through their formality and hopefully reissue us their noise enforcement of those areas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nar. It's a very interesting thing to think that somebody can't play live music and we have to go through this process for it. So
yeah, and when it comes to, and the bottom line of it is the way that the PLCB, it's the same thing that within the PLCB, when they issue them a liquor license, they can't take that alcohol outside that zone. But now that we do outdoor seating, same thing. Then they have to petition and get approval by the city saying we're going to basically quarantine this area off, or allow this area to be quarantined off to allow that. So it's kind of the same process, except of having the drinks outside. This way, again, if someone wants to pipe music out, say the Bullfrog wants to have some music so that you hear it outside on the sidewalks, then we would just enforce that so that it doesn't get too loud. As well as when some of the Brickyard may have bands, Old Corner can sometimes have bands outside. And that's all it is they're saying that the city's going to enforce that and we're not going to enforce it.
Mr. Pelizzi, Mr. Mackey, any questions that you'd like to ask Mr. Nar?
I have some if Mr. Mackey doesn't have any.
Go ahead, Vince.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nar, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. I've been looking at the map that you provided us here, and I've had to use my little magnifying glass to kind of read the streets that are on it. So if you see me bending over, that's what I'm doing, is trying to read the street designations for these entertainment zones that we've created. And it looks like, am I seeing this right? There's 3 distinct entertainment zones.
Correct.
One.
What we tried to do is obviously set up. We took a look at it when we did this. We did meet with a solicitor. We sat down and said, okay, pull all the LCB licenses within the area. And what we did was come up with 3 zones versus blanket the whole city, and set those zones up. So you have basically what I call the West End, which obviously is up in the Newberry section along that commercial corridor that catches, that can be from around the finish line. And I'm going to date myself and go back to the establishment up as far as the Wander Inn, up along Poplar Street area. So a lot of campuses, those areas, as well as the commercial zone, which would be Ripstein, all the way to perhaps the Polish Club. And again, that's in that Newberry section. And then obviously we move to the center part of the city, the central business district, and just try to encase all of those businesses within that zone. And then obviously the eastern portion, what we tried to do is stay along the Washington Boulevard. Again, I primarily was looking at those areas that are inside commercial zones, but we do have a couple small establishments that are in residential zones that we encompassed as well, or we at least reached out to them and see if they would be interested in that. And they've elected not to basically participate in something along that line.
Okay, thank you. What I was seeing is particularly the central zone here surrounding, it looks like primarily Pennsylvania College of Technology. And I see that there's a couple bump outs. One bump out on the west side, going all the way up to Memorial Avenue, even touching on Park Ave. And I was just kind of wondering what, maybe that's there was an old establishment that far up.
There was an old establishment that was there. And that is in that commercial zone region there. I know it's close to the residential. Obviously that establishment's no longer there, but they do have the ability to possibly regain a liquor license within there. It's right around the home beverage area.
Okay. No, that was pretty much my only concern, is that those bump outs extended up into what I'm assuming was a larger portion of residential. But if the residencies of those areas want to come out and speak to that, they have the opportunity to. Okay.
And that's what we'll do. We will hold we'll have a set of 3. I'll get with Norm, PLCB, and find out when they can bring, because they'll bring their legal team up and we'll have hearings and we'll advertise it to the paper in those 3 different zones to give the residents or people within those regions the ability to speak either for or against it.
Okay, thank you. And this only applies to amplified music outside. Am I correct? This does not allow for businesses within these entertainment zones. This does not allow for outside open containers. Is that correct also?
No, this is strictly for noise enforcement. And again, PLCB sets the rules and says, okay, we do not want any music or any noise to emit outside the brick wall structure of the licensee. So at that point, we have to basically ask for that exemption so that we can enforce that. And we do the same thing when it comes to like the open container within those geographical contained area. And that's basically like you see maybe the Bullfrog, you see the Old Corner where they have the outdoor seating, Boom City. that gives them the ability to basically have patrons go out, sit outside, have a drink, and they can actually pipe music out in those areas to listen to as far as ambiance during their time there at those establishments.
Okay. Yeah, I see here it's specifically cites 67 decibels at a distance of 50 feet or at a distance of 75 feet. Just to give everyone here an idea of the relative noise level of 67 decibels, is there anything comparable to 67 decibels you might be able to tell us that makes that kind of noise?
If you were probably, I would say if you were running a chainsaw, obviously being able to hear it at that distance is basically what you're looking at. And again, when we initially looked at it, we sat down with PLCB. It's just kind of like we also have, the food trucks within that certain radius as far as whether it be the noise of running their generators and stuff like that. So that's kind of what you're looking at is the sound of a generator. So if you're 75 feet away, it's not going to hit over that certain decibel reading.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly what I was asking. Thank you very much.
And when we did this, again, like I said, we had compared other municipalities, third-class cities that were doing the same type of thing and had to go through this process. And again, that was also, so what would happen is once we set this up and we have the hearings, it's truly up to PLCB as far as how they want us to enforce that. If they want us to basically say, okay, we're going to allow you to enforce that, keep those decibel readings or maybe lower it. That's something that they have the ability to, as far as whether they're going to grant us that exemption.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. I appreciate the explanation. Mr. Biter, I have no more questions.
I just have one that I'd like to ask because I was looking at that map a little bit closer. Do we need to adjust that to include New Trail?
I believe
it doesn't look like it goes down far enough to get them.
I will do a modification to include New Trail as far as I'll do an updated map if it's okay. And we'll just encompass that in there as well.
Okay, that'd be great. That's really the only thing that I saw then as we were talking about it a little bit more. So thank you for that.
Good catch, Mr. Biter.
Absolutely. You can tell where I go.
All right.
All right. So we're going to move. Thank you very much, Mr. Nar. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda for today. We've got number 2. This is an ARP application from JBAS. Mr. Fitzgerald is going to be here and he's going to take the floor for this one and the following. So Mr. Fitzgerald, if you'd like to get started with that one.
Good morning, members of council and administration. How are you? Happy 4th of July. Didn't get a chance to get down to the fireworks yesterday, but I understand they were pretty successful. So the first project that we have in front of you is a request for some assistance with the J. Bass Realty project, which is in the former YMCA in downtown Williamsport. A developer who you're all familiar with, the J. Bass Group. We have Pat McHugh on the horn here today to explain a little bit more about this, is developing the former YMCA into 34 market rate apartments, which, as all of you know, is something that has been mentioned very frequently in the county and city comprehensive plans. Numerous public officials have talked about the importance for more of this kind of housing. And I think that everybody on the phone can agree that, or on the Zoom here today in this meeting, can agree that more housing is something that particularly, market rate housing is something that the city of Williamsport specifically and Lycoming County generally needs more of. So we do have a request in, and by the way, we have been requesting these funds for some time. And we're not certainly blaming the administration or council or anything else, but it has been a rather confusing and difficult process. And I think that sort of one of the things that don't want to speak for Mr. McHugh and won't, but with a couple of our clients, is that the process has not been particularly clear, and it gets frustrating sometimes when we see other projects being approved that are questionable as to whether or not they're shovel ready. When this one is not only shovel ready, it started. And Mr. Basilega took a risk by investing in the city of Williamsport. I actually, along with Mayor Chris Doherty and others, brought him here a few years ago to look at the Y building. Decided to purchase that and is investing in it. So we are requesting $1.1 million in funds from the city. And I would like to have Mr. McHugh explain where the project stands at this point and why these funds are necessary. So Pat, would you like to go ahead and do that?
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate the time and appreciate the meeting today, Council. Right now we're about 55–60% done completed with the project. Hoping to open by the end of the year, actually open and begin leasing. Heavy marketing and getting the information out to the public, and though it's out in some formats, but that's probably going to start early fall. All the framing is done. Drywall is up throughout the entire building. There's been electric wiring done. Plumbing has been set. So like I said, we're about 55–60% completed with the project. Just a quick background, and we kind of have gone through this before, but we were ready to start late 2019, early 2020, and we were greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We had to stop everything at that time, and when we came back and were able to remobilize at that time. Now, prior to that, prior to 2020, we had made the building water safe. So we had placed a new roof on the building. All the demolition was done inside, so we were ready to go. We were hit terribly with construction prices. Most of the price was up anywhere from 20 to 40%. So we did start the project. We started the project way behind the eight ball. We were a few million behind, with the hope that we would be able to kind of get the financing and put the pieces together to finish. We're at the point now where the financing is dried up. We are attempting to get additional financing. We do work with a local bank, Woodlands Bank, so we've been trying to do that. That's a long process. Requires additional appraisals and items like that, because they look at not only the construction side, they look at the revenue side and what's happened to rent. Luckily, rents have gone up, not only in our area but nationally. So we're really requesting these funds because our company we were hit really hard by this, and we believe that the program is kind of meant for these situations. But we think this is going to be a very successful project. I think we'll, within 30 days, have full occupancy. It's been great feedback so far. We've gotten some pre-leases already done, so very confident. And we're looking to do more within the city of Williamsport. But that's really what this request is. I think our firm was hit very hard by it, and to finish on time, we really need help at this point to get there. So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them specific to the project or anything else.
So we're really in a situation here that without some degree of funding, this project could halt. And I think that it's important, again, with all due respect to members of council and the administration and others, that all of the county and city officials that have been talking about the need for this, there comes a time where the officials have to put their money where their mouth is, and this is the time for that. And again, we're not being critical of any other projects that have been approved. We understand the need for them. But this is a project that has started, that is virtually, fully financed minus this area. And, we were told very early on, at least by the administration, that the city was supportive of this project. So now we're asking for that support to be memorialized.
Thank you very much to both of you. I know that we've talked about this before at ERC a little while ago. Mr. Mackey or Mr. Belizzi, if you had anything that you wanted to ask, if not, I have just a couple things that I'd like to say. I'll let you guys go first.
No, I currently don't have any questions, other than just stating the obvious that we've seen this project started quite a while ago, and it is moving forward. That's really the only thing that I could speak to right now is this project moving forward. But if I'd like to hear what you have to say first, Mr. Biter.
Sure. So one thing that I just want to be very clear about, obviously this did come to us, as I said, but we've never received any documentation from the administration about any kind of transfer ordinance or to make the official ask with this. I think it is a good project. Obviously, this is a building that sat vacant for quite a while. This is a good opportunity, I would think, though, too, for the entity to apply for the small business program. Potentially, they could possibly benefit from that because at this point, the ARPA funds that we have are pretty much all allocated. That's one thing that we are trying to make sure we have done correctly. Obviously, we have a crunch time with that because of the restrictions that the federal government put on it. We as council have asked the administration for an updated ARPA budget as well and haven't gotten it. So we do want to make sure that we get that information before we commit to anything now at this point, because we are getting down to the wire as far as monies that we have left to commit. And with the budget deficit that we have coming up in front of us, we want to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves now at this point. So that is what I have to say about the topic at hand. And if there's other questions that other members of council have, then again, Mr. Mackey, if you've got any, please feel free.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, with that understanding, which again became an understanding when you and I talked earlier, and again, we're not being critical of council in any way. What we would respectfully request is that this be moved to the full body of council for a discussion there. We understand you can't make a positive recommendation because we don't have that budget yet, but we do, since we've been working on this for so long, at least request an opportunity to go in front of the council as a whole and have the administration respond to any questions that we would have as well. But anyway, and we'd be happy to hear Mr. Mackey, any questions that Councilman Mackey has as well.
How are you, Jason?
Good, sir. How are you?
Well.
Good. Happy 4th of July.
Yes, you too. I guess I'll just kind of reiterate what Councilman Biter said. I mean, we can only vote on the things that are presented to us. And, just speaking for myself, I have been under the understanding that this project has been moving along, be a little bit more slowly, but again, COVID, I think, had a lot to do with that. And it was moving along just fine. But yeah, I would be in support of, I mean, obviously we can't make any decisions here. This is discussion based only. If we want to take this in front of the full body of council, I don't see any problem with that at all. But again, as Councilman Biter said, we have been trying to get an updated ARPA budget. But as far as I can tell and remember, most of our ARPA dollars have been expended. So to commit to something else would potentially mean us having to take money away from somebody else that we've already committed money to. And if I'm speaking out of turn, Councilman Pelizzi, Councilman Biter, please correct me, but
And would it be accurate to state that they haven't necessarily been expended? They've been allocated. Is that a more appropriate?
Yeah, yes, allocated.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
If I may just add on to what Councilman Mackey and Councilman Biter said. Yeah, obviously we can't vote on anything, nor can we make any kind of recommendations on anything. However, I'm saying objectively, I would like to have a more thorough discussion on, the process to what Councilman Biter and Councilman Mackey both spoke of, is that the council's request of seeing how much ARPA funds that we currently have. It's been quite a lapse of time between our request and seeing what funds we had available. I would like to have a more thorough discussion, not particularly about J Bass Realty, the project. That would be one of the reasons, but more importantly, what happened and where the breakdown of communication was, that we didn't know how much ARPA funds we had to be able to come back and look at these already ongoing, already moving these programs, these developments that have already started to take place. I'd like to have a more in-depth discussion on what happened there, and in my opinion, what caused the failure of the understanding, why we were not able to accommodate, particularly these particular requests at this time. If that makes sense, if any of you were able to follow that, I think the easiest way for me to put it is I'd like to have more discussion on what happened, why we didn't have the ARPA fund requests for the balance sooner, so we could have identified those funds for projects that have already been in the pipeline for some time. Does that make more sense to everybody?
It makes perfect sense to me. And Mr. Fitzgerald, I'll reiterate what a few others have said. I think that it would be good to have this in front of the full body of council, just to have a little bit more in-depth discussion, and then really get this out in the public to understand what's going on, what the issue is, and so on.
So could we
Absolutely.
So could we respectfully request that you ask that you vote, if it's legitimate to do so, to put this on the full council agenda?
Yeah, that wouldn't obviously be able to happen tomorrow, because
No, we understand that.
Setting that agenda. So the earliest that it would be able to happen would probably be the 20th, I believe, is our next meeting. After that, if not, then it'd be August 3rd.
Okay, so should we wait to, and I'm not sure how that works. Do you guys cast a vote to do that, or?
No, we'll let me talk to Council President Yoder, because ultimately it's his decision what's on the agenda.
Okay.
So let me talk with him, see what he has to say, and then I will be reaching back out to you about this one, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Councilman Pelisi, Councilman Mackey.
Just one more point to bring up, if I may, to Councilman Biter's point, is that if there is a dire need for funding to progress forward, there are certain programs that the city has put in place specifically for the loan program that we've put in for the Councilman Biter or Mackey. Are you able to speak? Councilwoman Katz is here too. I forget exactly what we titled that loan program. We set money aside specifically for these smaller projects. I can't remember the exact details of it, but I know that we did put money aside for loan purposes to fund these projects of this nature. Does anybody remember what that was specifically titled as?
I do not remember.
And I can't remember either, Vince. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Does Janice by any chance remember? Is she on?
Janice is on. I'm just not sure if her mute is on, so she might not.
No,
she might be having some computer problems.
I just got a message from her that she couldn't remember either. I was going to look through our old Dropbox files here real quick, but I can get that information and pass it along. I know I've sent it to Mr. Trometer once before.
What was that? The loan program information?
Correct. I sent it to Mr.
Yeah.
Trometer probably 2 months ago.
Yeah, we have the loan. Is that open at this time? We'll talk, we'll chat with Mr. McHugh and others at the end, and see if that's something
Sure.
you'd be interested in.
Eric, can I ask a question?
You may.
Jason, has this been brought to the administration?
Yes. The administration, this has been brought to the administration. The administration asked us to bring it to the ERC committee.
Oh, and this was just for this meeting? Did you go to them sooner?
Oh, my goodness, yes, Councilwoman, we've been talking with them. Pat, how long would you say we've been speaking with them? A year at least?
Yeah, I would say, I'm not sure when ARPA started or when it originated, but shortly after that. And
you were in
this
front
is
of
the
this
second-
committee as well.
Yeah, this is, I believe, Jason, this is the second. I was back in March. I was in front of, I don't know if it was this committee or I can't remember who in council, but we had a call back in March. The same topic.
The reason why I ask is being on council, I know I have asked how the project was going along and there was no information given because, you know, we all are concerned because this has been in the process for how many years at this point?
No,
And,
I respectfully, I don't agree with that. I was, again, I think it was early March of this year. I was in front of some members of council and went over the project. I'm not, we have been at the site now for removing the period of what was unstable, where we really couldn't do anything because of the fluctuation of prices. We have been there continuously.
that I know that you've been working on, because we've all been excited about this project. Number one, we were excited that you even put yourself out front doing this project, because it was a beautiful building to begin with. Also knowing the insides of that building, that was a lot of work that you were doing in there. I'm just, I'm concerned that this was not brought to the full body of council by the administration, that we could have helped you, sooner than this. And it's frustrating to me that other projects have been in the pipeline given to us, and you who have been on the table longer than some of these other projects, it to me is frustrating. So, Eric, I really think we should see what we can do with this as far as getting it on the full body of council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. All right. If there's nothing else said on this item, we're going to move to item number 3. That again is going to be Mr. Fitzgerald taking the reins for that one. So I will let you go ahead.
Very similar. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council, administration. Very similar situation here. This is a project that we have had, excuse me. Just got to talk on my phone. Somebody won't take for an answer that I keep putting it through the voicemail. Very similar situation here. This is a project that has been ongoing for some time. This is actually a new project. We had met with Councilman Yoder some time ago, and Mike Patel is here to explain a little bit about what he's looking to do, but I don't think that we need to get into that too much right now. This is a project that is shovel ready. Most of the financing is in place. We are asking for, with this project, $275,000. At one point, there was a larger request in, but then based upon what has been transpiring with regards to, the projects that have been funded in the city, et cetera, we did reduce that request to be more in line. So they're pursuing an opportunity on Maynard Street. The first phase, of course, is developing the land. The second phase consists of obviously erecting the building. And the third phase would include 4 separate businesses: a laundromat, convenience store, ice cream shop, and a pizzeria. And above the 4 businesses will be 4 apartments. So the whole mixed use concept there. The land and building would fall under the Rev Privy Company. The laundromat convenience store, ice cream shop, and pizzeria will all be established as separate S corporations. So the purpose for the funds that we would be asking for would be to begin the initial groundwork to bring water, sewer access, et cetera, to the site, similar to what's happening with the neighboring project. So I do have Mike Patel to briefly talk about the project. And then again, I think that we would request that this also be part of a conversation in front of the full body of council. So Mike, go ahead and just briefly explain what you're looking to do. Or does council understand what you're looking to do?
Thank you, Mr. Blasi Bider, bring me over here. It's just on a Manor Street. I have this is whole project. It's ready, everything. That's a 4 business, 4 apartment, gonna brings lots of 40 employment. And I have that's a architect design everything, and whole map is pass everything from a code department. So I'm ready to breaking ground, but that's a pandemic hit, that's really high budget and everything. So I need a little bit help from you guys. And that's it. Is like a 40 employment I gonna hold it. And according to that's our calculation, it's city gonna get every year $125,000 tax as a property tax, employee tax, business privilege tax, and employee generating, and whoever the 4 families gonna live on top, they're gonna pay. So it's like our calculation, it says $125,000 city gonna get every year. And once is the project done, it's city gonna get money for our long term. And that's it. I've been waiting for this funding is almost like 10 months. I start October 20th, and everybody knows that one. So this.
And Mr. Chairman and members of council, so we did include in your packets, and we would include to the full body of council as well. Council President Yoder had asked for some additional study to be done and a business plan. We did establish a business plan that we had sent in an attachment that also not only outlines why financial institutions are interested in investing in the project, but talks about the return on investment that we will get on this project. So really what we're looking for is assistance with the public infrastructure aspects. We are open to a loan here, but we would prefer a grant. And we are talking with Representative Flick about some potential state funds as well. So again, what we would again respectfully request that this also be added as an agenda item in front of the full body of council. And we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much to the both of you. Mr. Mackey, Mr. Pelezi, any questions that you have, or Ms. Katz?
I have a question, if I may. Mike, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Fitzgerald, Mike, I'm not sure who might be able to speak to. I'm looking at the business plan, page 3 of the business plan, and Mike had touched on this. The employment tax, business privilege tax, school tax, city and county tax, which is estimated to be approximately $122,559 per year. Hopefully, as revenues created, this would go up. I didn't see anything specific citing how that number was brought about within the business package itself, within the rest of the packet itself. I guess my only request would be is that if this would come to council for more discussion, that I would just request that we'd see actually how those estimated figures were drawn.
Sure. We can definitely get that for you, Councilman. And so when you're looking at page 3, you said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and when you jump down to page 4 there, just so you guys know, so you see the water line, stormwater, sidewalks, and permits.
Yes.
That is where we would be asking for the city money to go to. And we also would be willing to with this one, so that, you know, you don't get into a situation where you've earmarked funds and then not spent them in time for 2025. We would be very willing with any of these projects to make a commitment to the city that we would expend those funds as early as possible in a manner that's consistent with the way you approved it. And we really are ready to go here. And it's just a matter of, just tightening up a few loose ends for this. But no, we'd be happy. So what you're asking for, Councilman, is how we came to the tax number?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll get that for you, sir.
So that's
I appreciate that.
sorry. So that tax number and everything is number comes out. That's a small business SBCD. That's Penn College. That's people, and they figure it out everything based on Williamsport all business and how they break it down and everything. So they figure it out and they give it to me all everything. That's Tom. His name is Tom.
Yeah,
You know,
so we'll reach out
yeah.
to him. We'll reach out to him, Mr. Patel, and figure out how he came to that calculation.
And it's a simple calculation is like $25,000 property tax as a 40 employees. And if you see right now my edge market paycheck right here. So that's a paycheck is like every paycheck, it says Williamsport LST $2, whether is a $5 paycheck or $500 paycheck. Every paycheck, Williamsport get $2. So that's like a business previous tax we pay according to my edge market numbers and everything, employee tax and everything. So that's number comes based on that one. And that's a small business people that Tom, he bring that number.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanation.
Thank you.
Knowing that you reached out and utilized the SBDC, I'm happy to hear that. They're a great resource.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Biter, I have no more questions.
Mr. Mackey, anything?
So,
All right. I do not have any questions about this at the time. I will make the comment, Mr. Fitzgerald, I do agree. So I will talk with President Yoder to see what he has to say about putting this on an agenda before the full body of council and see where that discussion will go.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. I appreciate you presenting both of these to us. Mike, thank you very much for presenting to us as well. We'll move on to item number 4 then. Any related items? Was there anything for the good of the order that any members of council or the administration would like to add?
I have nothing.
Nor do I. And hearing nothing else from other members or the administration, that concludes our agenda for the day for ERC. So I will make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?